Welcome to Richland Community Library's Watercolor for Kids with Miss Carrie. Today we're going to use a dry paper and wet watercolors. So we're going to use the wet on dry technique. And we're going to play around today, and then we're going to make a picture. So our first little piece of paper is just for playing. You can use whatever size brush you want. You could use multiple different brushes, but this is just learning what your brush can do without you having to do as much work. So go ahead and pick a color. We're going to go with this purpley pink color here, and put some water in there. Get your watercolor nice and wet. And remember, the more water you use, the lighter your color is going to be, and the less water you use, the darker your color is going to be. All right, now let's see what our medium sized brush here can do. So what I love doing is making flowers. So an easy way to do that is to just press your brush all the way down, let it go, and then bring it up as you come in. So press it out, bring it in, press it out, and you can just see how you're letting the brush do the work for you. You don't have to work hard at all to get this to turn out really cute. And maybe we'll put one more petal right there. And I'm going to show you how to make ink drawing over this to make it even more like a flower. So let's try a couple of those, and you can just see how your brush moves. You can change colors if you want, but this is good practice. Sometimes your flower will turn out really nice. Sometimes it might not look quite what you want it to look like, but it's all about playing with the color and your brush. Just like that. All right, so let's try a different size brush. I'm going to work with my larger brush here. I'm going to get it nice and wet. And I'm going to choose blue over here. And this is a large brush, so really you just press it down, bring it in. This almost looks like leaves. And again, you can use as much water or as little water as you'd like. Sometimes it's kind of neat when they blend into each other. Let's see, what else could we do? Since we thought it kind of looked like leaves, maybe we can make some leaves over here. And you don't have to have super wet. If you wanted to take a little bit of water out of your brush, you can just hold a paper towel up to it to kind of get some of that water out, and then your color will be a lot darker. So kind of play around with the idea of leaves and flowers, and I think we're going to make a pumpkin to go along with fall. It's getting closer to Thanksgiving. Maybe you want to make a really neat table setting or or give a card to somebody. We can make something really pretty to give to somebody or to set at a placemat if you're having Thanksgiving this year. All right, so now that we've played a little bit with the colors and the watercolor, I'm going to set this aside and kind of let it dry, and then once it's dry, I'm going to show you what you can do with a pen to enhance what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. All right, for our picture, we're going to use a pencil to help sketch out what we want to paint, and then we'll use our watercolors to create a really cool looking card or a place setting if you are having people over. So if you're making a card, you can take your smaller piece of paper and go ahead and fold it in half, or you can just make a picture like this, maybe frame it for somebody, but we're going to make it look really nice. So the first thing we're going to do is make a pumpkin. Now a pumpkin is kind of oblong, not quite an oval. Kind of has like a little dip here and maybe a little dip at the top, because at the top we have a nice stem. And then something we normally see on pumpkins is lines that go down to the bottom, and they all meet in this center area once they go underneath the pumpkin. This is where the vine of the plant was at one point, so sometimes maybe there's maybe a leaf that sticks out. So we're going to draw a little leaf just like that. And you want to try and keep your lines fairly light, but if they get dark, that's okay too. You can always use your eraser. And then let's see, maybe we want some leaves down here. I'm going to show you a very simple way to make some pretty neat looking leaves. So usually I start with the stem of the leaf, which can be straight, it can be curved, it can be wobbly like mine, and then what I go through and do is make like a V, where the V tip meets right on that line, and I go down the leaf. This is what I call the skeleton of the leaf. Now we're going to go around and make our leaf. So there's a couple of different things that you can do. You can make one that's pointy, where your point meets right at the point of the skeleton tips. So you have a pointy leaf there. You can make a lobed leaf, which is pretty similar. Again, make those V's of your skeleton arms of the leaf, and the lobed leaf would go around like this, look more like an oak leaf. So those are two different kinds of leaves that you can do, and you can put as many leaves on here as you desire. Every which way. And they don't have to be perfect by any means. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start painting this. I am going to just use my medium size brush. And I'm going to start with my leaves. So let's see. Leaves in the fall are kind of a burnt orange, maybe brown, a darker yellow. So my palette is really messy, but that's okay. I can mix some colors here and maybe give me the colors that I desire. And I like to use a lot of water on my brush when I do leaves because it gives them a very textured look. Because sometimes the paint will gather up in some spots and not in others. But leaves aren't always just orange, right? So maybe there's like a spot of yellow. This is where we can use that wet on wet technique as well, that we learned last time. There might also be a touch of brown. There we go. We'll make it really fall-like here. And get right up to your lines so that it doesn't go out. And I like to fill in the whole leaf first, and then use that wet on wet technique as well to help color it in. There's that leaf, and maybe we have a leaf that still has a little bit of green in there. Just getting ready to turn. There we go. Let's see a little bit of that. And just subtly add more and more color. Maybe we'll offset that with our nice red leaf. It doesn't matter if you go over your lines, that's okay. That. Maybe add just a touch of brown. Alright, so now we have our leaves. Let's start on our pumpkin. So my leaves are still a little bit wet over here, so I'm going to not do the pumpkin part first. I'm going to work on the stem and the leaf up here. So the stem is generally brown with a little bit of green in it. So we start by layering light colors and then get a little bit darker as we move along. We're going to get a little bit darker on the brown. I like the look of that. Let's work on our leaf. This one I'm going to make green. And I can let the brown seep in just a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit darker green right along the leaf skeleton. Just like that. I think we will add just tad of yellow and a tad of brown. Okay. I'm going to go back to the stem now that it's dried just a tad and get some brown with not as much water. And again, go over my lines. There we go. Alright, now let's do the pumpkin. I am going to start first with some yellow and do some highlights. So we want to highlight where it rounds out and bumps out. And I'm going to highlight with yellow here. Alright, now we're going to go for that orange color. And you're going to notice how that just blends right into the yellow. I'm going to go right up to the line here. And we'll go over it one more time at the end to define it just a little bit. last little part over here. You'll notice that I did paint a lot over the yellow, but that just makes it stick out a little bit more as a brighter orange. Now we can start to define it just a little bit and go over where our pencil lines are. To kind of deepen that crease. And you can widen that band out just a little bit. And then we'll smooth out the bottom. And you can do that with a little more paint if you want, or you can clean your brush and kind of run it over being a little bit wet and smooth out that bottom area. Just like so. Now, we're going to let that dry. We're going to go back to our other painting, and I'm going to show you what you can do with a pen. And then we'll embellish this one as well. So, we have, most of this is dry. So the kind of pen that I recommend is the Sharpie Very Fine Point Pen. This is similar, this is a micron pen. The difference between these two is this is ink that spreads out in water, so it's not water resistant, but the Sharpie markers are, so that's kind of cool because you could draw with that first and then color it in, or you can do what we're going to be doing now, which is using it on dry paper and going over your painting. So normally flowers have a nice little center, and then their petals go out and around. So it's almost like you're doing the reverse of a coloring page. You colored first and now you're making the lines that go around it. And you kind of follow your petals around, just like so. And then you could choose to maybe put a middle in there, or maybe you fill that in with some paint as well. So let's do that one more time, and then I'll show you what you can do with the leaves. So out and around, make a line down the center there. And it's kind of a cool way to finish off your artwork. Just like so. Alright, so we have some leaves over here. Let's turn that around so I'm not getting my hand all messy. So again, follow around the outside. And then make that stem of the leaf come out. Or you can start with the stem first. Maybe you want to put the little skeleton in there of the leaf, and then again follow your color around. Alright, let's take a look at our Thanksgiving painting. So you can do the same thing with these. If you want to make it stick out more, you follow it, you fill in your lines, and this is totally up to you if you want to outline your artwork, or you could just leave it as is. But sometimes you need that nice dark line to help accent your picture. So you can make your stem stand out a little bit more. If you add a little bit of black lines to it, you can make your leaf stick out just a little bit more. If you add a little bit of a black line to it, it's not gonna take away from the picture at all. It's gonna add to it. So I look forward to seeing anything that you guys come up with. Maybe you didn't make a pumpkin, maybe you made something else for Thanksgiving. And you can even write on here with your paintbrush. So if you wanted it to say Happy Thanksgiving, you can take your smaller brush, and I think words written in watercolor are really nice. You just have to make sure you have enough water and color on your brush to start making your words. So I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Go ahead and snap a picture of your creation and send it to me. Adults are welcome to do that as well. And I'll see you again next month.